The warning sirens echoed through the bridge of the Imperial cruiser Eternal Vigilance. Commander Raxthor's three eyes focused on the holographic display floating above his command station. Something was out there in the empty void between stars, drifting like a ghost through the darkness. "Report," Raxthor ordered, his voice carrying the authority of 3 decades of military service. "Unknown vessel detected." "Commander," the sensor officer replied, her scaled fingers dancing across the controls. "No power signature. No life signs. No response to our hails." Raxthor leaned forward, studying the shape that slowly materialized on the screen. The ship was unlike anything in the Valthene Empire's extensive database. It was angular, covered in strange markings, and showed clear signs of battle damage. Hull breaches scarred its surface. Sections were completely blown away, exposing the interior to the cold vacuum of space. "How long has it been drifting?" Raxthor asked, calculating now, sir. "Based on trajectory and deterioration, at least 200 of our standard years. Maybe more, 200 years. The Valthene had been the dominant power in this region for 3,000 years. They knew every spacefaring species within 100 light-years. They had cataloged every ship design, every technology, every civilization that dared to reach for the stars. This vessel belonged to none of them. Science Officer Velnira approached the commander's station, her expression eager despite the protocols that demanded caution. She was young for her position, brilliant but inexperienced. Her spots glowed faintly with excitement. "Commander, we must investigate this," she said. "Think of what we could learn. An unknown species, unknown technology, unknown dangers," Raxthor interrupted. "That ship died in battle, Velnira. Something killed its crew. Something tore through its hull." 2 centuries ago, Velnira countered. "Whatever threat existed then is long gone. The ship is dead, Commander, but its secrets are still there, waiting." Raxthor considered this. The Empire prided itself on knowledge, on understanding the galaxy and everything within it. An unknown vessel was an insult to that pride. More than that, it was a mystery that demanded answers. "Very well," he said finally. "Prepare a boarding team. Full combat gear. If anything moves on that ship, I want it contained immediately." Velnira assembled her team quickly. 12 soldiers in powered armor, armed with plasma rifles and energy shields. Velnira herself wore a lighter suit, designed for research rather than combat. They crossed the void in a small shuttle, approaching the derelict carefully. Up close, the damage was even more severe. Whatever attacked this ship had done so with terrible violence. The hull was scorched black in places, melted in others. Some sections looked like they had been torn away by massive claws. "Reading atmosphere in some sections," the pilot reported. "Emergency power is still active in the core. Artificial gravity is functioning. How is that possible?" one of the soldiers asked. "After 200 years? Advanced power systems," Velnira said quietly. "Very advanced. They docked with the ship through one of the larger hull breaches." The soldiers entered first, weapons ready, scanning every shadow and corner. Velnira followed, her scientific instruments already gathering data. The corridors were built for bipeds, roughly the same size as Valthene. But the design was different, utilitarian, efficient, with none of the artistic touches that Valthene ships displayed. These people, whoever they were, built for function over beauty. They found the first body in a side passage. It was preserved perfectly by the vacuum and cold. The being was humanoid, with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a face that might have been handsome once. It wore a strange uniform, dark blue with patches sewn onto the shoulders. The patches showed symbols Velnira didn't recognize. "Look at the equipment," one soldier said, kneeling beside the corpse. "That's a kinetic weapon. Chemical propellants. I haven't seen technology this primitive since the museum archives." "Don't be fooled," Velnira warned. She was scanning the ship's walls, reading energy patterns that made no sense. Primitive doesn't mean ineffective. "And look here, these computing systems, they're integrated with technology far beyond ours. Somehow they made the primitive and the advanced work together. They moved deeper into the ship, more bodies, more evidence of a desperate fight. Blast marks on the walls, bulkheads sealed and breached. Someone had fought hard to defend this vessel. The bridge was the worst. 10 bodies at their stations, preserved in their final moments. The captain sat in his command chair, a handheld device still clutched in his dead fingers. Velnira carefully removed it, noting the writing on his uniform. "Park Deho, Captain. I found the data core," one of the technicians reported from a side station. "It's encrypted, but our systems are already breaking through. This is interesting." The language is completely unknown, but the structure is mathematical. Universal. We can translate this. Do it, Velnira ordered. The translation took hours. Back on the Eternal Vigilance, Raxthor waited impatiently while the computers worked. When Velnira finally returned, she looked shaken. The ship is called the Rawkins Indomitable, she reported. Republic of Korea naval ship. The crew were human. They came from a planet called Earth. Earth? Raxthor repeated. I've never heard of it. Neither has our database. Commander, these humans, they were fleeing something. The combat logs show a battle against an enemy they called the Swarm. Multiple contacts. Overwhelming force. The Indomitable was part of a colony fleet that was attacked and scattered. Velnira activated a hologram. It showed Captain Park Daeho recording his final message. The translation scrolled beneath his words as he spoke in his alien language. If anyone finds this ship, please listen carefully, the dead captain said, his face grave and tired. We fought something terrible out here. We barely survived. Most of us didn't. If you find Earth, if you find my people, I need you to do something important. Don't tell them where we are. Don't let them know we're out here in the galaxy. We're dangerous. We're too good at war. We're too good at killing. Keep them contained. Keep them safe. Keep the galaxy safe from us, the message ended. Silence filled the bridge. He was afraid of his own people, Raxthor said quietly. There's more, Commander, Velnira said. We found something in the lower decks, cryopods still active. Still occupied. There are survivors. Raxthor felt his blood chill. How many? 47 pods. All functioning. All preserving human crew members perfectly. And their warning? Raxthor asked, gesturing at the frozen image of Captain Park Daeho. He said not to wake them. I know, Velnira said. But Commander, think of what we could learn. These humans crossed space with primitive ships and advanced technology working together. They fought something they called the Swarm, and I think I know what that is. The description matches the Devourers, the nightmare that nearly destroyed all galactic civilization 50,000 years ago. If these humans fought the Devourers and survived, then they're either very lucky or very dangerous. Raxthor finished. We need to know which, Velnira said. Raxthor stared at the screen for a long moment. Every instinct told him to seal the ship, leave it drifting, and forget they ever found it. But curiosity was stronger than caution. It always had been. Wake one, he ordered. Just one. The captain made his warning clear. But we need answers. Velnira nodded and returned to the derelict. She chose carefully, selecting a pod near the bridge. The occupant was young, female, her uniform identifying her as Lee Hanna, combat engineer. Velnira initiated the revival sequence and stepped back. Lee Hanna's eyes opened. For a moment she was confused, disoriented. Then training took over. She saw the aliens around her, registered the strange faces and weapons, and reacted. The combat happened so fast that the security recording had to be slowed down later. Lee Hanna rolled out of the pod, disarmed the nearest soldier with a movement too quick to follow, took his weapon, and had it aimed at Velnira's head before anyone could respond. Don't move, she shouted in her language. The translator struggled to keep up. Where am I? Where's my crew? What happened to my ship? Velnira raised her hand slowly, carefully. Please, we mean no harm. We found your vessel. We're trying to help. Lee Hanna's weapon didn't waver. Her eyes were sharp, calculating, taking in every detail of her situation. She was outnumbered, outgunned on an alien ship surrounded by unknown beings. But she didn't look scared, she looked dangerous. My name is Lee Hanna, she said, her voice steady. Combat engineer, Rawkins Indomitable. And you just made a very serious mistake waking me up. Lee Hanna had barricaded herself in the medical bay for 3 hours. The weapon she'd taken from the Valthene soldier was alien, but she'd figured out how to use it within minutes. Now she stood behind an overturned medical table, the weapon trained on the sealed door, her mind racing through her situation. She was alive. That was good. But her crew was dead. That was bad. And she was surrounded by aliens who'd woken her from cryosleep for reasons she didn't understand yet. That was potentially very bad. Outside the door, Velnira spoke through the intercom, her words translated by the ship's computer. Lee Hanna, please. We're not your enemies. We found your ship drifting. You've been asleep for over 200 years. 200 years. The words hit Lee Hanna like a physical blow. 200 years since the battle. 200 years since Captain Park Daho had ordered her into the cryopod, telling her she needed to survive, needed to make it home, needed to tell Earth what happened out here in the dark between stars. Prove it, Lihana called back. Show me the date. Show me star charts. Show me anything that proves you're telling the truth. Velnira transmitted the data through a wall panel inside the medical bay. Lihana studied it carefully, her engineering training allowing her to understand the mathematical star positions even if she couldn't read the alien language. The positions were wrong. Stars had moved. Constellations had shifted. 200 years of drift, exactly as the alien claimed. Okay, Lihana said finally, lowering her weapon slightly. I believe you about the time. Now tell me why you woke me up. We wanted to understand, Velnira said. Your ship, your technology, your people. We've never encountered your species before. We didn't know humans existed. Captain Park tried to keep it that way, Lihana said quietly. He left a warning, didn't he? In the logs. He told whoever found us not to wake us up. There was a pause. Yes, he did, and you ignored it. We needed to know. The enemy you fought, you called them the Swarm. We think we know what they are. They're called the Devourers. They nearly destroyed all civilizations in this region 50,000 years ago. If they're returning, if they're active again, we need to understand what happened. Lihana closed her eyes, remembering. The battle had been chaos. Hundreds of Devourer ships swarming the colony fleet like insects. The Indomitable, and her sister ships fighting desperately to protect the civilian vessels, buying time for them to escape. Captain Park making the hard choice, taking the Indomitable on a suicide run to destroy the Devourer staging ground. They're worse than you remember, Lihana said. We found their nest. We destroyed it, but it cost us everything. Your captain's last order was to put you in cryosleep, Velnira said. Why you specifically? Because someone needed to make it home, Lihana replied. Someone needed to tell Earth what we found out here. The captain chose me because I was young, because I could survive the longest in cryo, and because... She paused, her voice catching. Because he knew I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't try to complete the mission. Slowly, carefully, Lihana unsealed the door. She stepped out, weapon lowered but ready, facing Velnira and the assembled Valthine. They were tall, scaled, with 3 eyes and 4-fingered hands. Alien in every sense, but Velnira's expression, even across species barriers, was earnest and open. I need to send a message home, Lihana said. Your computers can translate our language now. Can they access our quantum communication array? The array is damaged, Velnira said. But possibly functional. Why? Because Earth needs to know I survived. They need to know what happened to the Indomitable. And they need to know there are other species out here. Lihana looked at Raxthor, who had joined them. Commander, you seem like a reasonable person. But you need to understand something. When Earth receives my message, they will come for me. And when they arrive, you need to be very, very careful how you treat them. Is that a threat? Raxthor asked, his military pride stiffening his posture. It's a warning, Lihana said. Humans don't abandon their people, ever. When you woke me up, you started something that can't be stopped now. Against Raxthor's better judgment, they allowed Lihana access to the Indomitable's quantum communication system. The technology was strange to Valthine engineers, primitive in some ways, incredibly advanced in others. Lihana worked quickly, her fingers flying across interfaces that had been dead for 2 centuries. Quantum communication shouldn't work across this distance, one Valthine technician muttered. The entanglement would have decayed. Human engineering, Lihana said without looking up. We overbuilt everything. Redundancy on top of redundancy. The array might be damaged, but the core quantum pairs are shielded in a stasis field. They're still perfectly entangled with their partners back in Sol's system. She finished typing and initiated the transmission. It was simple, compressed into a single data burst. Lihana, combat engineer, Rokian's Indomitable. Survivor located. Request extraction. Coordinates attached. The message shot across space, traveling through quantum entanglement, reaching across light years in an instant. Lihana sat back, exhausted. How long until they respond? Velnira asked. Depends on who's monitoring the emergency channel, Lihana said. Could be minutes. Could be days. But they will respond. The response came in 4 hours. A single word appeared on the communication screen. Acknowledged. Lihana smiled for the first time since waking. They're coming. Over the next 3 weeks, Lihana became an unofficial ambassador for humanity. She taught the Valthine about Earth, about the Republic of Korea, about the century-long process of humans reaching the stars. She showed them images from the Indomitables database. Cities, oceans, mountains, the blue marble of Earth hanging in space. The Valthine were fascinated. Humans looked similar to them in basic structure, but the similarities ended there. Humans came from what the Valthine database classified as a death world, a planet with extreme weather, aggressive predators, persistent diseases, and constant natural disasters. Most species that evolved on death worlds never survived long enough to develop intelligence. Those that did were usually too traumatized to reach the stars. Humans had not only survived but thrived. "Your planet tried to kill you constantly," Velnira said one day. "Studying images of hurricanes, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. How did you survive?" "We adapted," Lihana said simply. "We learned. We built tools. We created societies. We protected each other. Every challenge Earth threw at us, we found a way through it. That's what humans do. We solve problems. And when the problems can't be solved peacefully?" Raxthor asked. Lihana's expression grew serious. "Then we solve them the other way. Commander, humans have been fighting since before we have recorded history, fighting each other, fighting nature, fighting everything that tried to stop us from surviving. We got very good at it. Too good, maybe. That's why Captain Park left his warning. But you're not monsters," Velnira protested. "You're kind. You've been patient with us, teaching us, sharing your knowledge. We're both," Lihana said. "That's what makes us dangerous. We can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Sometimes we're not sure which will be until the moment comes." On the 21st day, the sensors detected something emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system. The signature was massive, clean, and completely unknown to Valthine databases. Raxthor was on the bridge immediately. "What is that?" "Unknown vessel," the sensor officer reported, his voice shaking slightly. "Commander, it's enormous, larger than any dreadnought in our fleet. Power output is... I don't have a reference for this. It's more than our entire fleet combined." A transmission came through, broadcast in perfect Valthine language. "This is the Earth Defense Force ship, Soul's Hammer, Captain Kim Taeyong commanding. We are here to retrieve our citizen. Stand down your weapons and prepare for diplomatic contact." Lihana, who had rushed to the bridge when the alarm sounded, smiled broadly. "That's one of ours." "One?" Raxthor repeated. "You have more ships like that?" "Hundreds," Lihana said. "The Soul's Hammer is a standard heavy cruiser. We have bigger ships for serious work." On the main screen, the human ship came into view. It was angular and brutal, a kilometer of armor plating and weapon emplacements. Every surface bristled with weapons. Point defense turrets, missile batteries, energy cannons, railguns. It looked like it had been designed by someone who understood violence on a fundamental level. "Their weapons are active," the tactical officer reported. "All of them. They're not threatening us, but they want us to know they could," Raxthor finished. His pride as a warrior bristled at the implication, but his tactical training recognized the reality. One human ship against the entire Valthine fleet, and the humans clearly believed they could win. "Commander, they're requesting permission to send a shuttle," the communications officer said. Raxthor looked at Lihana. She nodded encouragingly. "They'll be polite," she said. "As long as you are." "Grant permission," Raxthor ordered, "and prepare our diplomatic quarters. It seems we're about to have a very important conversation." As the human shuttle approached, Lihana couldn't help but smile. She was going home. But more than that, she had completed her mission. Earth knew about the Devourers. Earth knew they weren't alone in the galaxy. Captain Kim Taeyong was exactly what Raxthor expected and nothing like he imagined. The human was tall, calm, and carried himself with the confidence of someone who knew he held all the advantages. But his smile was genuine, his handshake firm without being aggressive, and his first words were an apology. "Commander Raxthor, I apologize for the dramatic entrance," Kim Taeyong said through the translator. "In our experience, the galaxy respects strength. We prefer to begin negotiations from a position that leaves no doubt about our capabilities." "Your ship is certainly impressive," Raxthor replied carefully, "though I note all your weapons remain active." "Standard procedure," Kim Taeyong said. "We maintain readiness at all times. But we're not targeting you, Commander," Think of it as a reminder of potential, rather than a threat of action. With Kim Taeyong came two others. Commander Choi Minha was a stern woman with sharp eyes that seemed to calculate combat possibilities in every room she entered. Dr. Han Jiwoo was younger, enthusiastic, and carried so many scanning devices that they clinked together when he moved. Lee Hana met them in the docking bay, and the reunion was emotional. Kim Taeyong embraced her carefully, mindful of her injuries and exhaustion. "Welcome back, Engineer Lee. Earth missed you." "I missed Earth, sir," Lee Hana replied, wiping tears from her eyes. "Captain Park. The crew. I was the only one they could save." "Captain Park is remembered," Kim Taeyong said softly. "He's a hero on Earth. The entire crew of the Indomitable are heroes." "You completed his mission, Lee. You made it home." The diplomatic meeting began in the Eternal Vigilance's largest conference room. Raxthor had assembled his senior staff, while Kim Taeyong brought only Choi Minha and Han Jiwoo. The asymmetry was deliberate on both sides. "Let me be direct," Kim Taeyong said once everyone was seated. "We appreciate that you rescued Engineer Lee from the Indomitable. We appreciate that you've treated her well. However, waking her from cryosleep without understanding the situation was dangerous. Captain Park's warning was clear. "We meant no harm," Velnira said quickly. "We were simply trying to understand." "I know," Kim Taeyong said, his tone softening. "And honestly, I'm glad you did wake her. The alternative was leaving her drifting in space forever. But now we're here and we need to discuss what happens next." Dr. Han Jiwoo leaned forward eagerly. "Commander Raxthor, Science Officer Velnira, I've been studying your species since we received Engineer Lee's message. Your people have been spacefaring for 3,000 years. That's remarkable. Humanity has been in space for less than 300 years. We have much to learn from each other." 300 years, Raxthor repeated. "And in that time you built ships like the Soul's Hammer?" "We built bigger," Choi Minha said flatly. "The Soul's Hammer is a heavy cruiser. Our dreadnoughts are twice her size." The Valthian exchanged worried glances. Velnira spoke carefully. "How is that possible?" "Building ships of that size requires resources, infrastructure, industrial capacity that takes centuries to develop." "Death World, remember?" Kim Taeyong said. "Humanity learned to maximize every resource, every innovation, every advantage. When we reached the stars, we applied the same intensity. We built fast because we had to. The Devourers taught us that the galaxy is dangerous." "The Devourers," Raxthor said. Engineer Lee mentioned them. "We know them as the nightmare that nearly ended all civilizations 50,000 years ago." "Are they truly returning?" "They never left," Kim Taeyong said grimly. "They went into hibernation. The Indomitable and her battle group found their staging ground and destroyed it. But that was just one nest. We've been hunting the others ever since, building our fleet, preparing for the day they wake up fully." Han Jiwoo activated a holographic display, showing maps of human-explored space. Red markers indicated Devourer sightings and conflicts. There were dozens of them scattered across multiple sectors. "We've been fighting them in small numbers for 200 years, Han Jiwoo explained. "Probing attacks, scout ships, small nests. But the pattern suggests something bigger is coming. They're waking up, and when they do, they'll come in force. And you're preparing to fight them," Velnira said, understanding dawning in her expression. "We're preparing to win," Choi Minha corrected. "Humans don't fight to survive. We fight to eliminate threats permanently." Raxthor felt his warrior's pride stirring. "Your confidence is admirable, Captain Kim. But the Valthian Empire has defended this region for 3 millennia. We're not helpless." "I never said you were," Kim Taeyong replied diplomatically. "But Commander, let me ask you something. How many ships in your fleet?" 200 combat vessels, Raxthor said proudly, plus support craft. "And how many battles have you fought in the last century?" Raxthor paused. "Border skirmishes, pirate suppression, no major conflicts. Earth Defense Force has 400 frontline warships," Kim Taeyong said, "plus 300 reserve vessels. And we've fought the Devourers in over 60 major engagements in the last 200 years. Commander, I respect your capabilities, but we've been at war. You've been at peace. That difference matters." Before Raxthor could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The tactical officer's voice came through the intercom. "Commander, multiple contacts entering the system. Unknown signatures. Commander, they match the profiles from the Indomitable's database. They're Devourers." Everyone rushed to the bridge. The sensor display showed dozens of contacts emerging from hyperspace. The ships were organic, chitinous, moving with an insect-like coordination that was both beautiful and terrifying. How many? Raxthor demanded. 37 capital ships. Hundreds of smaller craft. Commander, they're heading straight for us. Velnira's spots had gone pale. They're real. After 50,000 years, they're truly returning. They never left, Kim Taeyong said again. He tapped his communication device. Captain Kim to Sol's hammer. Condition red. All weapons free. Protect the Valthene fleet. Choi Mina was already moving, pulling up tactical displays on her portable computer. The Devourers are using a standard swarm pattern. They'll try to overwhelm us with numbers. Commander Raxthor, I recommend you position your fleet in defensive formation. We'll handle the offense. One ship? Raxthor said incredulously. Against 37? Watch, Lihana said quietly. She'd seen human ships in action before. Just watch. The Soul's hammer moved with a grace that belied its size. It didn't charge into battle. It positioned itself carefully, calculating angles and trajectories with precision. When the Devourers entered weapon range, the human ship opened fire. The railguns struck first. Solid projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds, impacting Devourer ships with the force of small nuclear weapons. Chitin armor that had survived for 50,000 years shattered under the impacts. Ships broke apart, spilling biological matter into the void. Missile pods opened next, launching smart munitions that tracked targets independently. The missiles didn't just explode. They thought, adapting to Devourer evasive maneuvers, predicting movements, finding weak points in their organic armor. Energy weapons carved through the swarm like knives. Coherent light beams, focused to incredible intensity, burned through Devourer bioships. Point defense turrets created a web of fire around the Soul's hammer, destroying any Devourer craft that tried to approach. Impossible, Raxthor breathed. How are they doing this? Processing power, Choi Mina explained, never looking away from her tactical display. Our combat computers can track and engage hundreds of targets simultaneously. Combined with human tactical doctrine, predict, deceive, trap, we turn battles into mathematics problems. And humans are very good at math. The Devourer swarm tried to adapt. They split into multiple attack groups attempting to overwhelm the Soul's hammer from multiple directions. But Choi Mina had anticipated this. The human ship used debris fields as cover, positioned itself so that Devourer ships blocked each other's firing lines, and coordinated with the Valthene fleet to create kill zones. Valthene ships, this is Commander Choi, she broadcast. I'm sending you targeting data. Focus your fire on the coordinates I'm marking. We'll drive them into your weapons range. Raxthor saw the tactical sense immediately. The Soul's hammer was hurting the Devourers like animals, forcing them into positions where the Valthene could strike effectively. It was brilliant and terrifying in equal measure. The battle lasted 43 minutes. When it ended, 28 Devourer capital ships were destroyed. The remaining 9 fled back into hyperspace, leaving hundreds of smaller craft dead in the void. The Soul's hammer had taken damage. Its armor was scorched. Some weapons were offline, but it was fundamentally intact. The Valthene fleet had suffered only minor damage. The humans had shielded them through the entire battle. In the silence after combat, Kim Taeyong's voice came through the communication channel. Commander Raxthor, we should talk about an alliance. I think we have a lot to offer each other. Raxthor looked at his crew, seeing the same stunned expression on every face. They'd just witnessed a single human ship destroy a Devourer swarm that would have annihilated the entire Valthene fleet. Yes, Raxthor said quietly. I think an alliance would be wise. The news of the battle spread through the Valthene Empire like wildfire. An unknown species had appeared, fought the legendary Devourers, and won decisively. Emperor Thaxeron himself contacted the fleet within hours, demanding a full report and requesting that representatives of humanity be brought to the capital world. Kim Taeyong agreed readily. We came here to rescue our engineer, he told Raxthor during the planning meeting, but we're happy to discuss broader diplomatic relations. Earth believes in building alliances, Commander. We learned the hard way that we can't protect everyone alone. The journey to the Valthene capital world took 5 days. During that time, Lihana worked with Velnira to document everything they'd learned about each other's species. The exchange was fascinating on both sides. Velnira was particularly interested in Earth's history, You fought wars against yourselves? She asked, studying records of human conflicts. For thousands of years? We did, Lihanna admitted. We fought over territory, resources, beliefs, power. Sometimes we fought just because we forgot why we were fighting in the first place. It was ugly and wasteful and tragic. But you stopped, Velnira said hopefully. We unified, Lihanna said carefully. When we reached the stars and realized we weren't alone, we understood that our differences with each other were tiny compared to the differences we'd face out here. We still argue, we still disagree, but we don't kill each other anymore. We save that for external threats. The Devourers, Velnira said, and anyone else who threatens humanity or our allies, Lihanna confirmed. We're not conquerors, Velnira. We don't want to rule the galaxy, but we will defend what's ours with everything we have. Dr. Han Jiwoo spent his time studying Valthene biology and culture. He was endlessly curious, asking questions about everything from their three-eyed vision to their artistic traditions. The Valthene found him charming and exhausting in equal measure. Your people value knowledge highly, Han Jiwoo observed. That's something humans respect deeply. We believe that understanding is the key to progress. But you also value strength, one Valthene scientist countered. Your ships, your weapons, they're designed for war. They're designed for survival, Han Jiwoo corrected gently. Humans come from a world that tried to kill us every single day. Predators, diseases, weather, geological instability, Earth threw everything at us. We survived by being smart and strong. When we reached space, we found out the galaxy was just as dangerous as Earth, so we applied the same lessons. Commander Choi Minha spent her time analyzing the battle data with Raxthor and his tactical officers. The Valthene were experienced warriors, and they appreciated her professional approach to combat. Your doctrine emphasizes maneuver and positioning, Raxthor observed, studying the battle recordings. You don't meet enemies head-on. You create situations where they have to fight on your terms. Exactly, Choi Minna said. Superior firepower is important, but superior tactics win wars. We study our enemies, understand their patterns, and exploit their weaknesses. The Devourers use swarm tactics because they rely on overwhelming numbers. So we develop weapons and strategies that turn their numbers against them. The missile coordination was particularly impressive, a Valthene tactical officer said. Each missile seemed to know what the others were doing. Networked targeting, Choi Minha explained. All our weapon systems share data in real time. When one missile learns something about enemy behavior, all missiles learn it instantly. The Devourers effectively teach us how to kill them more efficiently with every encounter. The capital world of the Valthene Empire was beautiful. Towering crystal cities rose from lush forests. Orbital stations glittered in the sunlight. Art and nature blended seamlessly. The Valthene built with aesthetics in mind as much as function. Emperor Thaxeron received the human delegation in his throne room, a massive chamber with holographic displays showing every corner of his empire. He was old, his scales darkened with age, but his eyes were sharp and intelligent. Captain Kim Taeyong, the emperor said, his voice resonating through the chamber. You have done the Valthene Empire a great service. The Devourers have been myth and nightmare for 50 millennia. You've proven they're real and shown us how to fight them. For this you have our gratitude. Your Majesty, Kim Taeyong replied with a respectful bow. Humanity is honored. But we didn't fight the Devourers for gratitude. We fought them because they threatened your people, and Engineer Lee was under your protection. Where we come from, that makes you our responsibility. The Emperor's expression shifted to something like amusement. An interesting perspective, Captain. You meet us for the first time, rescue one of your own from our custody, and immediately decide we're worth protecting. Your people saved Engineer Lee's life by waking her from cryosleep, Kim Taeyong said. Whether you intended to or not, you gave her a chance to complete her mission. That creates a debt. Humans take debt seriously. I'm beginning to understand that, the Emperor said. He gestured, and a massive holographic display appeared, showing the borders of Valthene space. Captain, I want to propose an alliance between our peoples. The Devourers are returning. Your battle proves that. Alone, my empire might survive. But together, humanity and the Valthine could eliminate this threat permanently. Kim Taeyong glanced at Choi Minha and Han Jiwoo before responding. Earth will need to approve any formal alliance, Your Majesty. But I'm authorized to begin preliminary agreements. What did you have in mind? The negotiations took 3 days. The Valthine offered access to their vast knowledge archives, their established trade networks, and their diplomatic relationships with other species. In exchange, they wanted human military support against the Devourers and access to human defensive technology. It was during the 2nd day of negotiations that the alarm came. Devourer ships had attacked a Valthine colony world on the Empire's border. Dozens of capital ships, thousands of smaller craft. The colony's defense fleet was fighting desperately, but they were outnumbered 5 to 1. How long until reinforcements arrive? Emperor Thaxaron demanded. 6 hours, Your Majesty. His military advisor replied grimly. The colony won't last that long. Kim Taeyong stood. The Soul's Hammer can be there in 90 minutes. 1 ship won't be enough, the military advisor protested. You saw what it takes to fight the Devourers. You saw what 1 human ship can do, Choi Minha corrected. And this time, we're not holding back to protect allies. We're going in with full authorization to engage. The Emperor looked at Kim Taeyong. Why would you risk your ship for a colony you've never seen, for people you just met? Because that's what allies do, Kim Taeyong said simply. And because the Devourers need to learn something important. Attacking your friends is the same as attacking humanity. Your Majesty, if you want to see what Earth Defense Force can really do, watch closely. The Soul's Hammer arrived at the colony world to find chaos. The Valthine defense fleet was in pieces, ships burning, survivors evacuating to the planet's surface. The Devourers were beginning orbital bombardment, their bioships raining organic weapons that burrowed into cities and released swarms of ground troops. Captain, we're reading over 50 capital ships and approximately 2,000 smaller craft, the tactical officer reported. They're distributed across the entire orbital space. Good, Kim Taeyong said calmly. That means they're not concentrated. Commander Choi, you have tactical command. Show them what we do to things that attack colonies. The battle that followed became legend in both human and Valthine histories. The Soul's Hammer didn't just fight, it dominated. Using the colony's gravity well, the human ship executed precision maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. It used the planet's magnetic field to enhance its energy weapons, turning them into beams that could slice through multiple Devourer ships with a single shot. The railguns fired in rapid succession, each shot calculated to create debris fields that the Devourers would fly into. The missiles deployed in waves, coordinating their attacks to hit vulnerable points simultaneously. The point defense system became a wall of death, destroying anything that came within range. But the most terrifying moment came when the Devourers attempted to board the Soul's Hammer. Hundreds of boarding pods attached to the hull, cutting through the armor, releasing thousands of Devourer warriors into the ship's corridors. The Valthine, watching from their command center, expected disaster. Instead, they witnessed something that would haunt their nightmares and fill their hearts with equal measure. The human crew fought back. Every corridor had automated defenses. Turrets dropped from the ceiling, rising from the floor, emerging from walls. They fired hypervelocity rounds that turned Devourers into clouds of organic matter. Blast doors sealed and opened with tactical precision, channeling the invaders into kill zones. But more than that, the crew themselves fought. Every human aboard was a soldier. They moved with coordinated precision, covering each other, using grenades and close-range weapons with practiced ease. They fell back when necessary, charged forward when opportunity presented, and never ever panicked. Kim Taeyong personally led a counter-assault, wielding a weapon that fired magnetically accelerated metal flechettes. He moved through the corridors like he was dancing, every movement efficient, every shot finding its target. The formal alliance ceremony took place 6 months after the battle at the colony world. The Valthene Empire had sent a delegation to Earth, led by Ambassador Velnira and Commander Raxthor. The journey through human-controlled space had been an education in itself. They'd passed colony worlds where millions of humans lived in carefully managed ecosystems. They'd seen orbital habitats spinning gracefully around stars, each one home to populations larger than most Valthene cities. They'd witnessed shipyards where massive vessels were constructed, assembly lines churning out warships with efficiency that bordered on frightening. "How many ships does Earth have now?" Raxthor asked during the journey. 700 combat vessels, Choi Minna answered. She'd been assigned as the delegation's military liaison, plus support craft, colony defense platforms, and reserve fleets. "We've been building aggressively since the Indomitable was lost." 700, Raxthor repeated quietly. 200 years ago you had maybe 50 ships. "How is this possible?" "Necessity," Choi Minna said simply. "When the Devourers attacked our colony fleet, humanity realized we were vulnerable. We couldn't accept that. So we built infrastructure, developed production methods, optimized resource extraction. We turned the entire Sol system into a military-industrial complex focused on one goal, ensuring humanity would never be caught unprepared again." Earth itself was breathtaking. The blue oceans, the green continents, the swirling white clouds, it looked peaceful from orbit. But the orbital defense network told a different story. Weapons platforms hung in space like deadly jewels, each one capable of destroying fleets. The message was clear. This planet was protected. The shuttle landed in Seoul, in what humans called the Republic of Korea. The city was a blend of ancient and modern, traditional temples standing beside fusion reactors, gardens growing in the shadows of space elevators. The Valthene were enchanted. "Your people preserve history while embracing progress," Velnira observed. "That's rare in spacefaring species. Koreans have a long memory," Lee Hanna explained. She'd returned to Earth months ago but had volunteered to help with the delegation. "We remember where we came from, what our ancestors built. But we're not trapped by the past. We honor it while creating the future." The Earth Defense Council met them in a massive chamber carved from living rock deep beneath the city. The council consisted of representatives from every region of Earth, every major culture, every significant colony. The diversity was staggering to the Valthene, who came from a more homogeneous species. The council's chairperson was Park Soo-yeon, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a warm smile. She welcomed the Valthene delegation formally before speaking from the heart. "Ambassador Velnira, Commander Raxthor, you saved one of our own," Park Soo-yeon said. "Lee Hanna is a hero on Earth. She completed Captain Park Daeho's mission, brought us knowledge of the galaxy, and helped forge the first human-alien alliance. For that, humanity is grateful." "We're honored by your welcome," Velnira replied. "But I must ask, why do you build so many warships?" "The Valthene have 3,000 years of spacefaring history. We maintain 200 combat vessels and have never needed more. You've been in space for 300 years and have 700 ships. Are you preparing for conquest?" Park Soo-yeon's expression grew serious. "No, Ambassador. We're preparing to survive. Let me show you something." A holographic display activated, showing Earth from space. Then the image rewound, showing Earth's history. Asteroid impacts that killed most life on the planet. Ice ages that covered continents. Volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun. Diseases that wiped out entire populations. Wars that burned cities. "This is our home," Park Soo-yeon said. "For millions of years, Earth tried to kill us. We survived through adaptation, intelligence, and cooperation. When we reached space, we found the galaxy was just as dangerous as Earth ever was. The Devourers proved that. So we do what we've always done. We prepare, we build, and we ensure we can protect ourselves and anyone who stands with us." "You're not warmongers," Raxthor said, understanding dawning. "You're survivors who happen to be very good at war." "Exactly," Park Soo-yeon confirmed. "Commander, we don't want to fight. But we will never be helpless again. The Valthene Empire has been our friend. You saved our people. That means something to humanity. It means we'll stand with you against the Devourers or any other threat. But yes, we build warships. Many warships. Because the alternative is trusting the galaxy to be kind, and Earth taught us that the universe is never kind." The formal treaty was signed the next day. The Valthene Empire and the United Earth government pledged mutual defense, cultural exchange, and scientific cooperation. But there was a secret clause. known only to the highest levels of both governments. If the Devourers returned in force, humanity would lead the military response, and the Valthene would provide whatever resources were needed. After the ceremony, Velnira asked to visit one place specifically, the Korea Space Force Memorial in Busan. It was a quiet place, a wall of black stone carved with names. 347 names from the Roken's Indomitable, hundreds more from other ships lost in battles against the Devourers. Lee Hana stood before Captain Park Daeho's name, her hand resting on the cold stone. "I completed your mission, Captain," she said softly. "Earth knows. The Alliance is formed. We're ready." Velnira placed her own hand on the memorial. "They sacrificed everything so their people could survive. That's the most noble thing I can imagine. That's what humans do," Lee Hana said. "We remember. Every name. Every sacrifice. Every ship that doesn't come home. And we make sure those deaths mean something. We make sure they weren't in vain." Later that evening, at a reception for the delegation, Raxthor found himself speaking with Kim Taeyong. The captain had been promoted after the colony defense, now commanding an entire battle group. "I have a question," Raxthor said carefully. "Captain Park's warning on the Indomitable. He said humanity was dangerous. He said you were too good at war. Was he right?" Kim Taeyong considered this seriously. "Yes and no, Commander. Are we good at war?" "Absolutely. We've been fighting for our entire existence. We understand violence on a fundamental level. But that's not what made us dangerous. What made us dangerous was our refusal to accept loss. When the Devourers attacked our colony fleet, a reasonable species would have retreated, consolidated, and accepted that space was too dangerous. Humanity looked at those casualties and decided they were unacceptable. We built 700 warships not because we love war, but because we love our people more than we fear death." "That's what frightens me," Raxthor admitted. "Your capacity for violence combined with your loyalty. You're dangerous friends because you'll go to any length to protect your allies. Would you prefer we were less committed?" Kim Taeyong asked with a slight smile. "No," Raxthor said, returning the smile. "Actually, I'm grateful. The Devourers are the nightmare that ended civilizations. Having humanity as an ally makes me think we might actually survive what's coming." What was coming arrived 3 months later. Long-range sensors detected massive Devourer movements in deep space. Not dozens of ships, thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. The hibernation was ending. The Devourers were waking up in force, and they were heading toward the inhabited regions of the galaxy. The Earth Defense Council convened immediately. Reports flooded in from human scout ships, from Valthene observers, from the few other species who'd joined the growing alliance. The picture was grim. The Devourers weren't just attacking. They were swarming, overwhelming every defense they encountered. Park Soo-yeon stood before the council, her expression grave but determined. "The galaxy is facing its greatest threat since the Devourers' last awakening. But this time is different. This time humanity is here. This time we're ready." She activated a holographic display showing the disposition of Earth's forces. 700 warships arranged in defensive formations. Hundreds of thousands of troops preparing for ground combat. Supply lines stretching across human space. It was the largest military mobilization in human history. "We're not going to wait for the Devourers to reach our worlds," Park Soo-yeon said. "We're going to meet them in deep space. We're going to fight them at their staging grounds, and we're going to eliminate this threat once and for all. Not for humanity alone, for every species that calls this galaxy home." Aboard the Soul's Hammer, now the flagship of the first human battle fleet, Kim Taeyong reviewed the deployment orders. His fleet consisted of 50 warships, the largest concentration of human military power ever assembled. They would be the tip of the spear, the first force to engage the Devourer swarm. Commander Choi Min-a stood beside him, studying tactical projections. "The odds aren't good, sir. Even with our advantages, we're outnumbered." "We're always outnumbered," Kim Taeyong replied calmly. "That's nothing new. What matters is that we're prepared, we're coordinated, and we refuse to lose. The Devourers think they're facing the same civilizations they defeated 50,000 years ago. They don't know about humanity yet." "They're about to learn," Choi Min-a said with a sharp smile.